back to my channel. It's Julia here and I've just recently moved to London. I'm pretty settled in now. You can say it's been about almost 6 months since I moved here and I've finally put time to put this video together. And in this video I'm just going to highlight all the processes I took to move to London from Australia, logistics of moving to a new country and city, and the differences I found between Australia and the UK. So this will be so good if you're planning to move to London or if you're just planning to visit. This will give you an idea of what to expect, and let's dive into it. So let's start from the start. Reasons why I moved. Personally, I've always wanted to experience moving abroad. I thought it was something that would be really fun and cool. My reasons for moving to London was that A, everyone speaks English, and B, it is so close to the rest of the world, especially Europe. And I haven't explored much of Europe, so now that I'm in London, I'm super excited to go away on weekend trips to explore more countries here and tick it off my travel bucket list. So to give you an idea of how close everything is, from London, I think 1 hour flight away you have France, Belgium, and you have Netherlands. 2 hour flight away you have Spain, Italy, Switzerland. I bet there are so much more, which I'm so excited for. So planning trips will be so much fun and I have more opportunities to do that. I don't know if you've seen the map, Australia is so far away from the rest of the world, and if you're planning to go there from Europe, expect a 20-hour plus flight. It is so long. So being in London now, I'm super excited to do some more exploring. It's even closer to the States, so that also gives me opportunities to visit the US as well as Europe. So I'm really excited. So how did I move to London and what visa am I on? In Australia, I applied for the Youth Mobility Visa, so that lets me work and live in the UK for up to 2 to 3 years. And in terms of the requirements, you just need to be aged under 35. It used to be 30, but they increased it. Have more than 5k AUD savings in your bank account and a valid passport. I applied for the visa process and I thought it was pretty straightforward. It was pretty easy, and I have another video on it if you're interested. I'll link that below and you can check that out. After the whole process of doing all the documentation in Australia and you've finally flown to the UK to pick up your BRP. BRP is a biometrics residence permit. That's pretty much like giving you the identification and proof that you can live and work here. I found out this year that the BRP is going digital, so I had to apply for it online for a BRP, and so everything will be connected to my passport now instead of using the card, because my card, it had said, oh, it expires at the end of this year. So if you're planning to work in the UK, make sure to apply for NIN, which is a national insurance number, and technically that's kind of like a tax file number, I believe, like in Australia. So this just gives you proof that you can work here for your employers if they ask for it. It was pretty easy to apply. You pretty much just go on their site and just go through all the documentation, and then they send you a physical mail with your number on it. Once you found a place to live, it'd be good for you to apply for the NHS, and that's the National Health Service, which is kind of like Medicare for us in Australia, and that gives you access to healthcare if you need to see a doctor. It was pretty easy to gain access to it. All you need to do is just apply online. The process was quite simple. You just need to provide documentation again. So finding a place to live in London, let's dive into it. So prior to moving to London, I had actually booked an Airbnb for a month. The main reason why I did this is because I wanted to suss out each of the areas first before I decided to fully move in. Especially once you move in, it's going to be for a while. I had done some research on some of the areas in London, so here's to give you an idea of where everything is in London. So West London is considered more posh, more prestigious, pretty much a rich area, and you'll notice that the rent will be slightly higher than normal. I noticed the builds are a bit older. And then we have East London. East London's around Shoreditch. You've got a lot going on. You have Brick Lane, you have Spitalfields. It's more hip. I think the feel is a bit younger. It kind of reminds me of Melbourne, but a little bit more edgier because you have a lot more murals, you have graffiti. Everyone seems really artistic there. We have North London. I actually haven't explored too much. It wasn't really on my radar since I didn't hear too many good things about it. But the time I did go visit North London was probably Camden. So packed. I feel like there was just so much going on. It was so chaotic. It's a very lively scene. I have South London, which is around Brixton. Haven't really been around much in the area, but I'm not too sure what there is there, to be honest, so I haven't really ventured out in that area. Another area to mention is the Clapham area, which is a lot of Australians flock to when they move to London. I have been around here and this is a really nice spot. You've got Battersea, which is quite close, and it's a new development area. They've got the power station, which is honestly so pretty. It is a very modern area there and it is really nice. You've got Battersea Park, which is really big, and I think there's a lake in there, which is so cool. I honestly think it's a really nice area there. I think when I first came here and I stayed in an Airbnb, I was in Earl's Court, and it was honestly a really good area. I felt like it was pretty safe, and Earl's Court was on the Piccadilly line, which is like the main line to get to, for example, if you're going Leicester Square or if you're going around Soho area. I think it's like really easy to get around. So if you're planning to look for a place, here are a few apps and websites that I looked at to share with you. Definitely look at Rightmove, Zoopla, Spare Room, Mates Place, and then you even have the Facebook group Aussies in London, because sometimes people will post that they're leaving and you can just take their lease. I applied to a lot of viewings, but only a few of them got back to me. And so from the pool that I've got, actually I only went to 2 to 3 viewings, and 2 of the viewings were like, do you want this place? And so that made it a lot easier for me. I went for the second option because it was more modern and I prefer that a lot more. So the only thing was with the second option that I chose for the place is I had to stay in my Airbnb for another month till I moved in. So technically I stayed in an Airbnb for 2 months, being the first 2 months being in London. Honestly, it was so nice to finally have moved in on that 3rd month, because you know when you're Airbnb and you just move to a new country, it's like you can't fully unpack because you know you're gonna move. This is not a permanent place. So that's how I felt being in an Airbnb. So yeah, I was in Earl's Court when I was in an Airbnb, and I thought it was very central. It was very easy to get around. Only thing that really annoyed me when I was in my Airbnb, the walls were really thin, and so I could hear the sirens going off every 5 minutes. It was too much. It was very, very loud. I could hear everything. So when I moved into my place, I was so grateful I couldn't hear any sirens. I was really happy with my find and it went quite smoothly. Luckily, because I was stressing so hard because I was like, oh my gosh, am I going to secure a place? So now that I kind of have, I feel more at ease. But also in terms of finding a place, it can be really hard and competitive. I know my friends who moved to London, they spent a few weeks looking for a place, went to multiple viewings, try to put down a deposit, but sometimes it would be rejected because someone else had already put it down first. So it can be really competitive. I think it also depends the timing when you're moving, because the market changes all the time when it comes to rentals. So just be mindful of that. And I think when you're moving, also have an idea of what you want in your apartment. So for example, like, to be close to a tube, do you want natural lighting, on stairs versus elevator? Just kind of prioritize which one do you want more, really. This is pretty much just like things that you want to make more comfortable, especially if you're choosing to live in this place for quite a while, and make it easier for yourself for your move in London. And then when you're doing the viewings, don't get too attached to the places because you might not even get it. Also, when it comes to trying to secure a place, if you have a job lined up and you can use that as a reference, you don't need to pay 6 months up front, which is amazing because 6 months up front is a lot of money. Second, if you do not have a job lined up, you may have to pay 6 months up front to prove to the landlord and the agent that you can afford this place. Usually this happens if you just want to secure the whole apartment to yourself, and if you don't want to go through that route, you could even just go through sharing a house. So you could Spare Room and Mates Place, or even look through Facebook groups to just kind of rent a room. That might be easier, so you don't need to pay so much up front. You can just do kind of like a reference check. Some places do reference checks, some places don't. I think it just really depends who you're going through to secure the room or the place that you want to live in. If you can't do the 6 months up front, you can get a UK guarantor for support. So that's another option, but other than that, I think those are the main ways to secure a place in London. So next on the list, we have finding a job in London. To tell you the truth, I think finding a job in London is really competitive. I don't think it's the best place to be starting fresh in a new industry. I've had friends who try to switch industries but found it so hard because it's more of a skills-based match here. I recommend, like, before you move, to kind of build up your title before moving, so then you can kind of earn a little bit more and enjoy your time in London a bit more comfortably. For me, I was lucky enough to be able to transfer to the UK office, so it kind of gave me a peace of mind a bit more, which was nice. In terms for applying for a job, definitely really recommend looking through LinkedIn. In terms of recruiters, you can definitely check out Salt, Acorn, Hayes, just to name a few. Recruiters are the best way to get a job now because they actually have that personal connection with the company and for yourself to get that foot in the door for the first interview. Whereas I feel like when you're applying online through LinkedIn or Indeed, I feel like I really rarely ever hear from these companies after applying. The most success I've gotten is probably through recruiters. So setting up a bank account, first before I moved to London, I had a Wise account and an Up account. So Up account, I think that's mainly just based in Australia. I pretty much had this account, everything's in AU dollars, and anytime I paid, they will automatically just exchange it using the exchange rates. And then with Wise, I had that so I could exchange actual AU dollars to pound. And then when I moved to London, I actually signed up to Revolut, which is a London bank. It was really easy to set up, all done digitally. Probably took me less than 5 to 10 minutes to set up the bank, which was amazing. I could have multiple currencies like pounds and euros. I did hear about another bank called Monzo. I tried signing up, but for some reason the process was so long, it wasn't as easy for me. I don't know why, but I was just stuck with Revolut. So those are the bank accounts I have set up and made it really easy when it comes to paying and receiving money. So setting up a mobile plan in London. I started off with Labara, which is a mobile plan. What they offer was really good. They have a plan where it has unlimited data, unlimited calls, and you can even make calls and use the data across all the EU countries. I thought that was a really good deal. Originally it was £25, but I was able to get them half price for the first 3 months because my friend had actually referred me. That was really good because £12.50 is actually really good. If you think about it, it's just under 30 AUD dollars per month for the first 3 months. I thought it was amazing because that's also cheaper than what I would pay for in Sydney as well. But if you're also interested in venturing out and seeing other mobile providers, there's also giffgaff and O2, just to name a few. I only know those two because my friends have previously used it and had good experiences as well. So types of supermarkets for groceries. We'll start from the cheapest. So the cheapest that I have found walking around, I guess kind of doing research, mainly just looking around. You have Asda, which is kind of like Walmart in America. It has everything. You have food, clothes, you can buy pots and pans, blankets. Actually, it's kind of like Kmart and Coles combined, if you were to think about it as Australian point of view. You have Lidl, Aldi, they also have Aldi here as well. They have Poundland. Poundland's really cheap. You have Iceland. I haven't been in it. I've seen it around. And then there's also Co-op. Co-op is kind of designed for students, I think. And then you have your mid-range. I think that would be like Tesco's or Sainsbury. And then you kind of have a higher tier, which is a bit more expensive, but nicer range. You have M&S. You have a little Waitrose, and I think Harrods would be more on the expensive because it's kind of more luxurious. But I still found like it wasn't too bad because I went there and I got a loaf of bread and it was only $7.50. It's expensive, but I wouldn't mind if for the quality. Also, I have to mention this, the list of Asian supermarkets. I found Aseo, there's Tenten Market, and there's Sterimart. Let's dive into the transport system in London. First off, I'm gonna say it's so convenient. It's way more convenient than it is in Sydney. But first, let's start. You have the overground, you have the underground, and you have the bus. Actually, overground is pretty much essentially like the trains, obviously above the ground, and then you have the underground, which is like the tube. Transport in London is honestly so convenient. The buses and trains, tubes, they come so frequent, and in terms of frequent, I mean like every 3 to 5 minutes. That's how quick it is. I love it. It's so good. So prior to coming to London, I thought I would need an Oyster card or a rail card, but when I got here, you can literally just tap with your debit card, and that's so easy. I didn't actually end up getting an Oyster card, but if you feel that I should, just let me know in the comments to see if it's cheaper, because I don't know, I just keep tapping with my debit card. I just think it's so much easier. However, if you're doing day trips outside I think like the tube system, you definitely need to buy a ticket online, and where you can buy tickets, I think you can buy it on the Rail Southern. And then there's also Trainline, which is an app. I recommend you get it. It makes it easier to book tickets online. So for example, if you're going Oxford, Cambridge, or just anywhere like 1 hour away from London, I recommend booking a ticket. I don't think you can tap with your card or Oyster card with it. I think you can, but it's not as convenient. I think there'll be signs saying like, oh, you can't actually tap. because you're out of the zone. Also, to get around, everyone has been recommending this to me, and it is Citymapper. To use Citymapper instead of Google Maps, it gives you more specific details about the trip. So for example, it would say, oh, you should be in this carriage because you'll be closer to like the exit for this station. So it gives you like little tips and tricks. Honestly, I probably should use it more, but I think I'm still figuring out how to use it. But everyone says to download Citymapper, so that might be helpful for you when you move here or you're trying to get around in London. Lastly, I'm going to talk about the things I found different in the UK versus Australia. So because I like dining out, I'm going to point this out first. So when you're dining out in London, you were slapped with a service fee on top of the food that you ordered. So the service fee usually ranges from 10 to 15%. And for Aussie to move to London, this is a first, because in Australia, when we look at the menu, that's actually how much we're going to pay. There's nothing else on top unless you have a large group, and they usually charge extra sometimes, but usually we don't get hit with a service fee. So being charged with a service fee everywhere I eat in London is just so wild to me, because it just makes London even more expensive, especially to eat out. I've talked to a lot of people around about the service fee, and there's just so much controversy, especially if you like take it off, because people say that this is towards the weight stuff. But I don't know, it's entirely up to you what you want to do with it. You can take it off or you can leave it on. But if you have any thoughts about the service fee in London, let me know in the comments. Also, another one when it comes to dining out, what is also really common is that split bills are so common. Usually in Australia, they would be like, no, you can't split the bill, you have to pay it all in one go. But London, that it's so common for people to just go around with the machine and just pay separately. It's kind of good because it makes splitting the bill a lot easier instead of transferring internally. So another thing that I noticed, this is probably so minor, when the green man appears, he does not like go off like in terms of the sound. In Australia, you always hear like a da 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 da, like, and then you can walk. Here, some of the places don't even have sounds. And also in terms of walking, a lot of people jaywalk here, even if it's a red man. People just walk if there's no cars. Whereas in Sydney, I know that some people actually get fined for jaywalking, which is crazy. But still, I think the walking policies are just so different. No one cares in the UK. So if you're waiting for the bus stop, if you're walking around, make sure to not be on your phone. From what I've heard and what I've seen from all the videos, phone snatching is so common, and honestly it's so sad that people actually do this. So make sure to not always be on your phone, especially in busy areas, because obviously it makes you like a really easy target and they know where your phone is. So to prevent this, I have actually bought a phone strap. So to secure it, make sure my phone is always with me. But honestly, this never really happens in Australia. It's so free and easy, like, and it's pretty safe in comparison to the UK. Like, you can just put your phone in the back pocket and it's usually safe that no one will take it. But obviously just be precautious. You can't do that in London. You can't just leave your phone out. So be mindful about that. Also, another thing about being in London, I do not wear anything like, I don't wear any jewelry. I'm not even wearing any earrings because I'm just so scared that someone would just like pin me down and try to grab something from me. But you know, if they try to pin me down, I have no like valuables on me. I feel like you can't wear anything nice because I feel like you'll be targeted. But in Australia, at least you can wear something nice and you'll be fine. Usually you're fine, and it's technically a little bit more safer. In London, I feel like if you wear something nice, someone will just follow you and try to take it from you. So it's so sad. And then on a topic of like roads and walking, I noticed that Lime bikes are so common here. There are bikes everywhere. I've seen some scooters. Bikes are more common, and it's legal to just ride a bike without a helmet, whereas in Australia it's actually illegal to ride a bike without a helmet. So here, I guess, again, they don't really care about the rules. They'll just do what they want. Australia is more strict, but I guess they really care for your safety there. London is actually really spread out, so sometimes you'll be traveling for like, it'll say on the map for like 50 to 60 minutes, but then when you're in the transport system for like the bus or the tube, it actually goes by really quick. And one thing that Australia has really lucky is the water, because the water in London is like it's like hard water. And I think one time I boiled my water just from like the tap water and I poured it in my bottle. I looked at my bottle and there was just like bits of things in my water, and it's a limestone. So after I realized that, I had to buy a Brita water filter jug, so then it'll filter my water from all the limestones, so I'm not drinking it. And I think a lot of people have bought filters for their showers because sometimes your hair can also get quite dry and flaky, so that's something to be mindful about when you move here. And then something that I also noticed, like when I was out and about in the summer in London, when it's warm after work, so many people go to the pub and they just stand outside the pub, a pint or a drink. That is actually like so random. Like, why would you stand outside? Why don't you just go inside? I don't know how the whole culture works, but I see that a lot, and it usually gets so packed to the pubs. Also, another thing, when it also gets warm, you'll see the park flooded with everyone just like picnicking, which I guess makes sense because there's not a nearby beach, whereas in Sydney you can just go to the beach and just like enjoy your day, whereas there, I guess a nice space of greenery which makes a nice picnic. And then another thing that I noticed is that there's always something to do in London, whether there is another gig, festival, music, or the theater. There's always just something going on. I think also mainly because it's so close to all these different countries. There are a lot of DJs coming through, or there are a lot of shows coming through to the theater because it's just convenient. It's just very close. Whereas in Sydney, you'll probably just get like one theater show every few months, or 1 or 2 theater shows. It's like not that common. You wouldn't get a lot of DJs coming through because it's so far. For them to travel to Australia is actually really, really far. And then Indian food is so popular here. And I'm gonna say, like, I've been to Dish Room and I've been to Parry and Covent Garden. Both of them are actually so good. The flavors of Indian food, I feel like it's just so much better in London than it is in Sydney. It's just something about it. It's really, really good. I think it's the flavors, and it's also really smooth. It's really good here because Indian food is so prominent here. I even went to Macca's, and you know what they have at Macca's? They even have I think it's a curry sweet sauce. That's how integrated Indian food is in London. It's another one on transport. When you're in the tube, come home and like a sneeze, oh my gosh, my snot was like black. It's actually so gross because I think there's just no ventilation, so there's a lot of like dust in the undergrounds. I think the transport is just so good in London. As I mentioned that before, it's so convenient. I feel like you don't even need a car in London because the transport system gets you there a lot quicker. Also to point out, and I'm sure everyone knows this, that London is actually so expensive. So if you're buying like a train ticket out 1 hour out of London, and if you're going to Oxford, it's actually really expensive. It's like £30 or around £30 return to go to Oxford, and it's only 1 hour away. So if it's £30, it's like $60 AUD a ticket return to go just to go out of London. A lot more expensive after COVID, and I'm not just saying like just London, but just everywhere else in the world probably have gotten more expensive. I know Sydney, like the prices and inflation have gone up as well. Also, because I haven't been to Europe much, I noticed that the days in summer, they last so long. So you have the sun out till 9 to 10 p.m, which is so nice because you can get more out of your day. What I really like about the summer Europe, the only thing is I haven't experienced winter yet, so I guess I'll let you guys know when I experience it. But that the days get shorter. I think the sun sets a lot earlier, like about 4 p.m. That's really early. Whereas in Sydney, I feel like it's a bit more balanced throughout the year because I think in summer we have it to 8 p.m, but like we still have the balance in like winter. We still have the sun probably till at least 5 to 6 p.m. So it's not a huge drastic change compared to Europe. Also, I like the parks way more in London. I don't know if they're like really well tended or really cared for compared to Australia, because I've been to Regent's Park, I've been to Hyde Park and St. James. It's just so pretty, and they have like little ducklings like wandering around. It's actually really cute, whereas I feel like in Sydney we don't really have nice parks, but I guess we have the beach, so it makes up for it. So a good thing, which is a positive for London, is that you barely see any bugs here. I think I've barely seen any flies or anything like that, but in Australia there are so many bugs everywhere. You get mosquitoes, you get flies, you get ants. I mean, you have ants here, but you don't see them as common as Australia. My last point, when you're looking for a place, you notice that a lot of places don't have aircon. then you're one of the lucky ones, because I think London's not built for the summer. It's really built for the cold, so you'll see a lot more places have heaters than they have to with air cons. And that's a wrap for all things London that I experienced in the past 6 months. I hope that you found this helpful and insightful for you and what to expect when you visit or plan to live in London. If there's anything else you want me to cover, if there's anything I missed out on, and if you have any questions, feel free to let me know in the comments. And remember, if you enjoyed this video, to like and subscribe. Till next time, I'll see you in my next video. Bye!